This meeting is being held remotely pursuant to provisions of the action taken on March 29th, 2023 by Governor Healy in response to the COVID outbreak. The meeting is being recorded and anything you say or share is therefore captured. Please be advised. We'll do a roll call to assume we have a quorum. MJ,
Present.
Beth,
Present.
Ellie,
Here.
Carolyn,
Here.
Tim, we have a quorum. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:31. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes from January 21st?
So moved.
Second.
Any additions or corrections?
No.
If
Perfect as
I
usual.
was being picky, there was one thing, but
Ooh,
Tell
go
me,
ahead.
tell me.
What is it?
Go ahead.
so in the description of the application for the parking lot, there was a 3-word sentence that started with "and." It was like you were
A
listing,
birding area.
yeah.
Say that again, which is it?
And a birding area. It's been the very first paragraph in the horseshoe
okay.
trail. Like it actually looks like there's a whole bunch of tiny sentences.
Right.
It looks like they were like periods instead of commas or something
Yeah.
happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if I was being picky,
Yeah.
I would just say clean that up a little bit.
I can do
But-
that.
Would you like
Factually
me to
incorrect.
amend my motion?
As amended, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
You made a motion second, then it's
Yep.
like that discussion with edits, and I put that in. There you go.
Perfect.
Okay.
And MJ,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Ellie,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Tim is aye. Good, that's done. And no bills to pay, so that's settled. And we have a minute or two here before. Well done. Do we expect Wayne?
He said he was
You know,
coming.
I thought, yeah, in fact, he actually,
Well, that's right, he responded.
Yeah,
He said
yeah.
he was coming.
I wonder if he left out a not.
that's.
I was a little surprised.
Yes,
like,
because
you were just
because
saying.
normally it is, I usually just say, let me know if you're not coming.
Right.
Maybe so, we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I know when typing, and I mean to say not, I often forget negations when typing, so.
Mhm.
We should remember that in email communication with you.
Yeah.
Well, if I say I'm going to show up to a meeting and I'm not there, then yeah, maybe assume I forgot or not.
You're just too positive, that's all, right?
So we have June and Ethan in the waiting room.
All right,
Um,
we're gonna do 1870 first.
I can,
Our objective is to vote on these this evening. Because we need to go forward and prepare the appropriate articles for the warrant, which is closing in 2 weeks. Right? 2.5?
Mhm.
24 days. So,
Yeah, so 3 weeks. But I think we ought to go ahead and assume that we should vote on things as best we can this evening, whenever possible. So 7:35, Town Hall steps. It's a application for 10,000. We're gonna, the select board has agreed to present this and support it at the annual town meeting. We're gonna ask Kristen to approach the vendor and see if they want to modify that dollar amount just slightly, so it falls under the 10,000. And this would be for design. Other than that, I don't have a great deal to add. It's an attempt to find a means of getting to the front doors of the town hall in a safe and somewhat more passive way than climbing the stairs. And since the alternative is to wander up the side of the building all the way to the back and go in the back door to the elevator, it seems like an appropriate means of trying to address the problem. There'll be a second phase. If they can come up with a design that seems appropriate, there may be an attempt to ask for CPA money at some point in the future for the implementation of the plan. I can't tell you a great deal more, but I could try if people had any questions, I guess.
My only question is, do they have someone already in mind to do the design?
Yeah, they figures well, they have to go out. Well, I guess it depends, right? The procurement issue is another issue, but they would like to, I think, wrap this into the same projects that are being put forward for the drainage and some of the complete streets work, so that there's not three different entities dealing with all these, that there may be a economy of scale by being able to combine these efforts. So
Is that Austin Design?
I think that's who they've been using for the complete streets stuff. And the drainage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Has Austin come forward with proposals to work on Bullet House Foundation and that sort of stuff, or are they out of that picture?
I think we've had some work done by them. I think that we were going to go back and look at it a little bit more carefully. I think it was kind of over-designed.
Yeah. That may be their habit. Hi, Wayne.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
No problem. We were worried that you'd left out a not in your response, and MJ said that frequently happens to him, so we wouldn't have been surprised. So good to have you with us.
Yeah, sorry I'm late.
Well, Carolyn didn't have too many bad things to say about you while you were out, so it was worked out.
Good.
And we only believe some of them anyhow.
Right.
I'll watch the recording later.
There you go.
So we're talking about 1870 and the proposal to design an adequate entrance to get more easily to the front door.
Yeah.
And the select board, as we've said, have said they'd be the point on this project to carry it to town meeting and ask for support. And we've said that we would ask Kristen to approach the vendor and see if that dollar amount could be reduced modestly so it comes under the $10,000 figure. But that's all I've got on that one. So the next one is the historical clothing. Let's
Should we
promote
vote on them
June.
as, should we vote on them as we go?
I think
And-
we'll circle back while we've got people
Okay.
who can let them present.
Okay, and then the only thing that I thought that I might ask if you could make the decision on what category bucket you wanted in your motion. Like say to be used historical funds, rec funds, or whatever it is. We haven't done that in the past, but it
That's a
might be
good idea.
good for record keeping later.
Sounds
Okay.
good. June, let's promote June.
Maureen, do you want me to, or are you going?
Oh,
to?
I thought did I not hear her?
Me too. Oh, there we go. Yep.
There she is. Hi, June. Good evening.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, June.
Hi.
So I mean, I think we've discussed this fairly thoroughly. Anything else you'd like to add in support of this since we've met the last time?
Um, only that, and I think you may have discussed this at your last meeting that I did not attend, that our consultant would bill us at the end of each month that she worked. And, I didn't do anything about the contract yet, except to, talk to someone who would help me with it. Is there any need to do that before this actually passes at town meeting?
I wouldn't think so. I mean,
Okay,
you've got the distance of time between town meeting and the time you could expend the money anyway, so there's time to finalize all that.
yeah, because Lynn Bassett was fine with having a contract. It was just something that she wasn't used to for this kind of a project, but she said it's no problem. We
Good.
can work it out.
Does anyone have questions for June while we've got her here? It's easy, June.
Well,
Good.
June made it easy. She gave us
Yes.
all the information and
That's true.
No questions. Well, this will be fun. The pool of money that it's in historic preservation is significant enough, so this can come entirely from that pool without any trouble. So the article will read that way. Good. That's that one. Now, Horseshoe Pond. Let's elevate Ethan. Hi, Ethan.
Hi,
How's everything?
good.
So we've gotten a few more numbers from you. So I think what we want to be able to do tonight is to put a final dollar amount on the project so that we can write that into the article. So if you can give us any updates on what you've learned since your last meeting with us and help us formulate a final figure, that would be great. Okay?
Yep. Yeah, so I'm to do any kind of budgeting at this point, I'm gonna have to use the highway department's numbers, even though I'm not sure that those are gonna carry over because Skip didn't want to do the work. I got in touch with another contractor, Paul Wheeler, who was interested in doing it, but I haven't been able to get numbers from him yet. So I've put forward the numbers I've got. The benches are a pretty solid number. The lumber and building materials are a quote from Jackson Lumber. So the only stipulation that I would make is that if the tariffs go through with Canada, lumber prices are likely to go up pretty substantially by the time we're actually doing the work. So, and then on the site work end of it, I don't know. I'm very unsure of how those numbers are going to work out once I hear from Paul Wheeler.
So remind us, Highway had when you developed the figure with Highway for the expense of construction, what was that?
It's on this document. It's $10,500 approximately.
Right.
I didn't get a full scope from them because I stopped pursuing that because we kind of decided we wanted to go with not the town, not with the highway department. So even then, I'd probably add like another $2,000 onto that number to account for the additional work that we were talking about doing. So the total right now minus those additions that I would add is about $16,600. Given the givens, I think 25,000 would probably be safe. Which I know that's a lot more, but when things are so uncertain with pricing and with materials costs right now, it's hard to nail a number down.
Well, we also don't have to spend that.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of shooting high so we don't end up with a shortfall.
Reasonable.
And that, the site work, those were quoted on the overtime rates, right?
Yes.
Correct, but if we go with an outside vendor, it's likely to be the prevailing wage, which
They'll
is
be, right.
probably commensurate or higher than town employee overtime rates.
Okay.
So,
What are the rules about in terms of like how much, are there rules about how much more we can ask for than the numbers we have in front of us at town meeting, or is it really just whatever we write in the warrant article?
We have that flexibility to make sure that we're anticipating any additional costs. I mean, if we simply use, you know, if we were to double materials, we get to 20,000 fairly easily. So, you know, shooting at 24, 25 probably makes a good deal of sense. And then that gives some opportunity for there to be modification in response to some of the wage activity,
yeah.
as well as materials.
There was the kiosk that we were talking about doing as well, but I don't think we can do that because it might technically be a building. And then there was the CPAC sign, which I think somebody on the commission or on the committee said was like probably $350. So should probably add that in as well.
When you say kiosk, you mean, you know, the map board with the tiny roof over it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't think that does not, my reading of it does not, my reading of what's on the websites does not, says something like that is allowed. In fact, even bathrooms are allowed in certain circumstances.
Right.
So, I mean, potentially we might have it, you know, if we ask for 25, there might be enough money on the other end to stick that in if,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, which wouldn't be a bad thing.
But other people might disagree with my kiosk assessment, not being the long-term resident here, but
But if it's not outlined in the proposal, I don't know that you could then use the money for
Yeah.
it.
And I think it was something that Kristen had come up with that changed the whole thing. Wasn't that how the kiosk got kind of knocked out of it?
I think it was
Look at the
something about
minutes.
it being potentially being a building, and then we didn't want to have the whole
Yeah.
proposal rejected. So we figured that the Conservation Commission would probably just have to figure it out on our own later.
Yeah.
but that is
It's something
something like potentially like next year could come back and get money additionally.
If we
Yeah.
needed, I mean, honestly, it can be built with scrap lumber. You know, I mean, it's not such a fancy cost burden that I think that we're very concerned about it.
I think we're looking at like a couple of grand at the very most on that. You know, you're talking about a couple of 6x6s or 4x4s, you know, sheet of PT plywood, a couple other things. It's not a big expense.
Other questions or comments?
I was just going to comment that if when we got to town meeting, if the labor numbers come in lower and the lumber doesn't double and some of these cushions that we're building in if the price really is significantly lower than what we're asking for, we could always modify it on the floor to a lower number.
Right.
Yep.
But as we've said, if we're uncertain, leaving it at that number and then unexpended funds just return back to.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
so there is no reason to do that.
And
Yeah,
I think we're going to really try to build in language that clarifies that going forward. Two things we'll probably say. One is if within a reasonable amount of time, the CPA committee determines that the funds haven't been expended and it doesn't look likely that they will be, we'll draw them back. And then the other would be that unexpended funds would be returned to the CPA general fund. So we'll add language that's appropriate to the article.
I would also say, even if there is no change or significant change in lumber prices in the next few months, that I wouldn't bank on that staying the case between town meeting and when the lumber is purchased. I
Yeah.
think
no,
that could easily turn on a dime very quickly, so
Yep.
I'd rather ask for more, even if everything looks like it's gonna.
Right? Because we still
Yeah.
do have some time between town meeting and when we could actually do the project.
Yeah,
so when is the project due date? When would you execute it in the fall?
It depends on when we get funding and when we can mobilize contractors, it's all about getting permission and then getting people scheduled. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean,
if we get approval and we have funds in hand, I mean, we could get going in the summer sometime, probably.
well,
Maybe
that's
even
town
later.
government.
Yeah.
Hurry up and wait. So
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. It's
Yeah.
construction.
no,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that our viewpoint of we don't want projects to come up short, and I think as long as the proponents understand that, we're doing that in good faith, and if we put it in the the funds are supposed to be returned. I mean, there's always that possibility somebody could spend more. There is tight with their budget, but I think the alternative is worse. And I think that can be explained though at town meeting that, and we also don't have any pressing needs like, okay, by funding this little bit extra on a project with a relatively tight turnaround, we're not foregoing something else happening. So I think that's it's not a this or something else. So I don't see the issue.
Yeah, I would think that as long as contractors show up and do their work in a reasonably timely fashion and the scheduling reasonably snug, this could get turned around in as little as a month. It's not a huge deal,
Right.
Ethan, just be aware, you can't do anything till July 1st.
That's fine.
Okay, yeah,
Uh,
just because so if there's an invoice that comes in dated June, we can't pay it out of CPA, so everything's got
Oh,
to be from one.
I'm not going to do anything till I know exactly when I'm getting the money and how much money I'm getting.
Okay.
Yes.
You can talk to people, but they can't do anything till July 1.
All right.
Yep.
No, I wouldn't get anything like, not a problem on it.
Other questions or comments? So we've got a general idea here. Any
So-
questions or comments then in regard to any of the three proposals?
So we can change the amount down, right? As Carolyn said, we can't go up.
Correct.
Right.
So there's no chance you think that it would come in over 25. I'm just being conservative. I'm just asking the question.
If you want to give me more buffer, I would not argue with that, just because the labor costs are very up in the air right now, because the only quote I was able to get so far was from the highway department. So
And if you get to a certain point, I mean you have to go out to bid?
if I can't find a sole proprietor, or if it's coming in above, for that section of it is coming in above $10,000, which it almost certainly will, then yes, I'll have to send it out to bid, or at least get 3 quotes on it, I believe.
Yeah.
So I've got a bit of a process with just getting the quotes together anyway, because I need to find 2 more contractors and then get quotes from everybody, which means
Right.
I'll probably need to find 3 or 4 more contractors because I
Right.
probably won't even get back from 2 or 3 of them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess I would just be amenable to, even considering 30 if, I mean, I know this is only 16, but labor itself can just go through the roof. And there just seems to be a lot of unknowns that unfortunately, given the economic circumstance, it's like, I don't know how it would get nailed down. I mean, if you can get more specific numbers between now and then, that would be great, because I think that will help, people will have a lot of questions. So
Yeah.
the more specific we can be, but if we have to put a number on the warrant, then I'd rather go higher and be able to lower it back to 25 than say, oh, we did 25 and now you find out it's 30 and now we're toast.
Yeah.
I don't know what anybody else feels, but that's just my.
I'd be comfortable enough with that, Wayne.
All right, other questions? Everybody all set? So the question that Maureen asked about 1870 is that what box does it fit in? And is it historical, or I guess I think it has to fall under the historical category, and it's a design. And then in the implementation phase, they're going to have to be certain that they can comply with all those state regs in regard to historic resources. The historic projects quality for CPA, examining the procedures you must follow for historic appropriations. So that would be in the implementation phase as I look at it. But at this point, it seems like it's coming out of the historic preservation box.
Well,
Re- I
it's
mean,
certainly
re-
not
re-
open space.
Right?
I mean,
Nor is it
It's
Rehabilitate-
affordable
not
housing. Yeah.
I mean, rehabilitation of a historic resource. That's
Yes.
Yeah.
that seems pretty clear.
Yeah.
And so Horseshoe Pond is coming out of open space. And
So if we're voting it out of that budget though, does historical have to be fine with that? I mean, versus us just say, oh, we had allocated it and now we're taking it.
I mean,
Or the select board's taking it.
we would always welcome the historic commission's support if we were to choose to push the project forward to the town meeting floor. But it's this committee that makes the determination as to whether the article goes on the warrant or not.
Yeah.
There's no other entity that has that authority. We haven't asked the Historic Commission, and they haven't had a chance to act, and they don't have a quorum here tonight, but
No, that's fine. I'm just
fortunately for them, maybe.
Yes.
Do
But-
either of you anticipate an issue with using historic funds for this?
I wouldn't think
No.
so.
No, I think
because
it would be
that
fine.
we haven't spent anything in the historic budget for a while, have we, Tim?
No, I mean, I think you've got 2 cycles. You've got the 50,000 from last year, and you'll add another 50,000 this year almost. So drawing 1323 out of it's still going to leave 27,000 from last year, and there may even be some remainder from before. I haven't gotten up-to-date figures from June, although I think she's not you, June, but the other June.
Yeah.
I think June Poland is hoping that she can give us some hard figures for well, actually, we're supposed to go to the finance committee tomorrow night. I was hoping that maybe June will be there and I can squeeze some numbers out of her at that meeting. But we're in good shape in all 3 of these categories, housing and
Okay.
open space and because we didn't use any of the money that we generated last year and put into those buckets. So each one of these categories is fine.
Okay, thank you.
So you want to deal with these individually as motions?
Sure.
All right.
Maureen does.
Does
Uh,
anyone want to make a motion in regard to the 1870?
I make a motion that we approve the application for $10,000 for design of the 1870 stairs.
Second that.
All right. Any further discussion?
Coming out of what account?
Coming out of the historical account.
Okay, yeah. That's new this year, sorry.
Any other thoughts? All right, so we'll do a roll call on that. MJ,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Ellie,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Wayne,
Aye.
Tim is aye, so that settles that one. Thank you very much. And then the preservation of the historic clothing collection, do we have a motion on that one?
I moved that we approved the application for the historical closing budget.
And that would come out of the historic preservation category as well for 13,500.
Yep,
Yeah.
13,500.
And we have a second to that?
Second.
Any discussion on this one? Everybody's all set? MJ,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Ellie,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Wayne,
Aye.
Tim is aye. Thank you very much. And then on Horseshoe Pond, do we have a motion on that one?
I motion that we request $25,000 for under open space for Horseshoe Pond trail work benches and parking.
And I amend that to 30.
Sure.
So you're all right with that, Beth?
Yep.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this one? And this is coming out of open space. Everybody's all set?
Yep.
Wayne,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Ellie,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Tim is aye. Very good. Thank you all very much. Thank you, June. Thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
We'll generate some language and share it with you guys so you get an idea of what we're going to submit. In case you can catch anything that we've slipped up on.
Okay, great.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
try to
No,
get
thank you. Have
more
a good
solid
evening.
numbers in time for meeting.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Chair updates. I don't have anything to add about funding. I don't have anything in regard to the rec committee wanting to send a representative. The warrant,
Have they responded to you at all about that?
Felicia said thank you. But and I'll reach out again. It'd be nice to have somebody before we get to town meeting. The warrant submissions, we'll be writing that stuff up and we'll share that around, so we'll be sure to get that submitted to the select board before the due date. Maureen, use of funds for project manager. We got a response from Stuart on that, right? Didn't we?
No, I didn't ask him about this. You said that you got we added that to the agenda because June, not this June, town accountant June was asking if CPA funds can be used for that project manager that Historical's proposing.
Yeah, so why do I have the idea that somehow I got the word that it can? Who did I get that from?
Well, maybe, did you ask, I didn't ask that for Stuart. Stuart responded to the nonprofit.
Yeah, I asked
Yeah.
that one to Stuart, but I guess I'm aging and imagining things because I can't find anything in writing. But why do I feel like this is
Did you call him?
no?
I mean, I can reach out to him. He does, I'm not.
Well, yeah, you get
Give me a right,
terrific,
he
you
does
get
respond to me
responses in
right
24
away.
hours, and I wait weeks. I don't. He likes you.
I think you should ask. I think it's
I
good to
will
have it
ask.
I think it's good to have it in writing.
I
Yep.
agree.
So let's
Yeah.
do that, and then we can get that
Okay.
squared away for the historic commission because that's one of the issues that they'd like resolved.
What
right.
was the answer about nonprofits?
So when a leasing entity is doing work on a municipal asset, so if you had a 501c3 is essentially the question that was responsible for a town building. Often procurement rules still apply, but prevailing wage does not. It depends on the exact situation, and an opinion from municipal council or the attorney general's office would be advisable when a private leasing entity is doing the work. But there are definitely rules from the state's procurement and prevailing wage laws that are different from municipal property that is leased. And then there's an article on the website that he refers to. So we'll send this around to everybody.
Yep, I can do that.
But that's encouraging, because it may help with the argument that perhaps 1870 from a managerial point of view could be handled by a 501c3 rather than by town employees.
But that's not a town-owned building.
1870?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking 19 Carter.
Oh,
Yes.
maybe I said the wrong thing, but so 1870 is town-owned, and the committee that was working with it began to have issues about the manner in which they could do work in the building. But if it was because they were a town committee, but the question we wanted to find out was if there's latitude for the town to lease the managerial portion of the responsibility to some other entity and then let them handle some of that. I mean, if you wanted to do repainting or plastering or, whatever. But the usual rules apply. All the work has to be in the nature of a capital improvement attached to the building, and the work must follow the Secretary of Interior standards for historic preservation. So you still end up in the situation where you've got to abide by those rules and guidelines, just like the Historical Commission has found in some of their other work. So.
That is encouraging, though.
Yeah, so we can ask town council. We're talking to Heather about some other things. We could certainly add this to the list. And we'll share this with Kristen so she has an idea that what mischief we're up to.
She's going to start dreading us having meetings.
And then the hearing we have to have a hearing on our plan. And so if we work on our plan in March, when you had a tentative date, Maureen?
Yeah, so I was thinking, well, recalling that Carolyn's going someplace warm, so she doesn't want to be writing her conservation submission while she's at the beach, I don't think.
That not
Maybe
only
you
does she
do.
not want to.
She will not be. Well, actually, I guess so. The good news is we have Beth now to write the housing, which is good, and we can work with you on that.
Good.
Wayne, you'll probably still update with the signage, correct?
Yep,
Um,
pretty
Karen's
standard.
conservation, Ellie is historic. We have nobody to write up the rec portion of it. So when Tim and I met the other day, we were kind of talking about dates. So we have to publish it as a hearing. So you gotta by the 10 days before the hearing. So if we push out the actual, like the work of it or the actual hearing date, what did we say? April 1st, and then we can do March 18th as the review of the draft. If those dates work for everybody. And then I'll go ahead and I'll take care of the hearing notice to back out by April 1st.
I think that gives us the time we need.
Yeah,
Basically, we got a little more than a month to update the plan so we can review a draft and then be comfortable having a hearing on the 1st of April.
Yeah, last year not a lot happened anyway, so it's not as much of a heavy lift.
No, I mean, I think Maureen's going to keep us on our toes here because she's looked at like Groton and Concord and some of these other plans that challenge us to keep moving forward and not just settle. And there's some good features in some of these other plans. So I think the sections that people are working on, continue to do what we've done in the past, but we may try to argue, that there could be some new sections that, complement some of the other work that's being done that's specific to the buckets.
Such as,
Hmm.
not to put you on the spot.
We're looking forward kind of stuff like, the town of Air actually does a 5-year plan and they actually, utilize a vendor that puts it together. It's online on their website and it's quite impressive. But a lot of it is, housing obviously can have more of a long-term kind of plan and try to put that out.
Right.
Communities that have historic districts, they can kind of do plans like, whether they're going to be plating, the properties or, trying to do window replacements or whatever, but they're more like true, 1 year, 3 year, 5-year plans. But Tim came up with a good idea that he thought because we haven't done a lot of admin spending again this year. Instead of doing the little flyer that we do at town meeting, do more like a little trifold kind of thing that kind of pops out and you can get the logo that's been kind of decided and everything just to kind of, brand yourself, keep getting that branding out there, but have not looked into that any further than our discussion. But
And-
April will do it, I think, as far as giving people time. And then figuring out what we should do about the rec.
Yeah. I think what we've seen in, like Maureen is saying, in some of these communities is that just like a master plan that a planning board might develop that looks further into the future, it enhances your fundability when you go after outside money for support for projects, whenever you can include, and forecast projects that you want to tackle over the next multiple years rather than, so, for instance, the Historic Commission might very well be able to articulate a stepped phase a little more thoroughly, given some of the work that they've been able to do over the last couple of years with some of the consultants they've had. And certainly the community housing, the housing trust should be able to foresee some new ways in which they might want to spend money coming up in the future, and not just in the 1 or 2 year frame, but the 3 to 5 year frame. And because it's just a good planning tool, it's going to force us to think more proactively about the long term. And I think that helps the townspeople understand a little more thoroughly what it is that the hope is with CPA. We're beginning to pool some significant funding here. I think the Conservation Commission might, articulate the sense that there are a couple key parcels, not saying specifically which ones they are, but that there are key parcels in town that the protection of those would really be fairly significant. And today, Carolyn was in the hazard mitigation meeting last time, and they met again today. And in that plan, they outline preservation of open space, preservation of farmland, preservation of wetlands, and all that fits into the work that the Conservation Commission's doing. And they really argue it for flood control and fire protection, and on and on and on. So it's not just because it's nice and it looks nice. It has other implications when you begin to protect open space. So building all that into the plan, again, helps us when we go after money from the state.
Right, it opens up different buckets of grant money too.
Yeah, certainly the fact that your 850,000 that came back from CPA is part of that.
The MVP.
Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
That was a source that you wouldn't necessarily 5 years ago have said, oh yeah, we'll go to MVP for money for open space. And
right, but if the town didn't have the MVP plan already in place that called out Mount Pisgah as an important property, then that just served to strengthen our argument that this was a worthy grant.
Yeah.
So that kind of dovetailing of different plans, of different stuff being called out of the same things being called out in different places.
Yeah. So that's our target, April 1st for the hearing. And if we couldn't meet that would be fine. But that would be the target we'd have right now anyway.
Yeah.
That's all. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the draft review on the 18th, and then April 1st for the vote. So like the real work will be on the 18th. Unless you want to push it down for the vote to be the 15th and the real work to be April 1st. I don't know how busy everybody's spring is.
April get wound up with town meeting issues, and it's probably better to tend to this earlier than later.
April 1.
And in the past, I feel like we've had to spend more than one meeting on it.
Yeah. That's
do the draft. All right, with that said, then Carolyn, do you want to review the draft on the 4th? I didn't know if that was just going to be too
March
tight.
4th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll only be home for 3 days from that.
That's what, yeah. We'll shoot for the 18th.
There you go.
I mean, and if we have to repost the hearing, we'll repost the hearing. Well,
Yeah, we can always just say April Fools.
Right.
Okay.
That's all I have for chair updates. Member updates. Does any member have an update for us?
I have updates. The Housing Trust met.
All right.
Very excited. To follow up on the personnel question, the current plan is Jasifa left. We are in the process of finalizing how much what we should be getting back. We are contributing towards her salary, but she left before the end of the contract, and so figuring out how much work she did for us in between Thanksgiving and January when she left, and only paying for that work. The plan is to find somebody else, looking for somebody with a different skill set. Potentially, I think all of the towns have learned some stuff about this position and what we're looking for in that person. You know, it was the first time around for everybody. So now we've learned some things. And we'll keep you informed as that goes forward. The two big projects for the trust are development, the attempt to develop the Legion Hall space, the old schoolhouse, as an affordable unit, with a Habitat for Humanity-esque partnership. Habitat has viewed the building. They are very excited about it. A lot of the things we thought would be, like looking at the foundation, that seemed worrisome. They had their engineers and we're like, oh no, apparently they've seen many things and done very successful projects on historic properties that were in far worse shape than this. So they're very excited about this, that they say the septic isn't going to be an issue. There is some there will be some political wrangling and placement. There is some NIMBY about the concept of the horrors of an affordable house next to you, or really, I think anyone, right? The neighbors were treating this as an extension of their own properties. And so they are not thrilled with this. But we're working on mitigating that as much as we can. The other project is the down payment assistance program. We're working on a contract with Metro West Collaborative Development, MWCD. They're the nonprofit community development group that oversees the Assabet Regional Housing Consortium. They work mostly east of us. But Northborough is also setting up this same type of down payment program at the same time. So they currently don't manage any, but are very excited to do so. So it's a slightly slower process to get the contract up and to get things in place, just because they don't have a previously lawyered version really to work with yet. That's our big plan, is to get that off the ground by the end of the year. And then one caveat that's not an update, we may want to revisit the category for Horseshoe Pond. My brain is not fully functional tonight, but isn't outdoor just like purchasing land, and which this should be recreation money because it's use of outdoor land, like for trails?
Yeah, but the bucket is actually open space / rec.
Okay, got it. As long as the same
Yep.
bucket.
But
Right.
that is a good point.
Okay.
Other updates? Thanks, Beth. That was good.
You
Everybody's
guys
good?
must have had so much to talk about.
Yeah.
We just think we meet again at the end of the month. It's so exciting. We get
Oh
to do-
my gosh.
I know. But when you're waiting on lawyers and contracts, I mean, We could meet more often,
Brutal.
sit and stare at each other.
Yeah.
Public input. All right. And our next meeting date,
One
Yeah.
admin matters. We got another
Oh.
powder house article due. So that's due on March 5th. So if we meet on the 4th, you guys can approve it. And probably what this one will be is nothing more than what your recommendations are. Unless anybody wants to make it anything else, but
that makes sense, because that would be timely and it would get the word
Yeah.
out, get people prepared for town meeting. That'd be
Yeah.
good.
I think our slots have worked out perfectly with the work that the committee's done, actually.
Yep.
Do we need an article for administrative expenses?
What we do initially is an article that assigns 10% of last year's revenue to each of the three buckets, and then another article that moves it from the general fund to the budgeted reserve, the remainder, and the 5% that goes to administrative. So that'll be a general article that we'd propose, and then the three specific articles would follow that. So yeah, you're right. There'll be that built into the warrant.
Maureen, can you, I've been looking at my emails. Do you have the link, or is it on the town website about where to take that ethics training?
I can send it to you. I don't.
Good, you've probably sent it before and I'm just.
That's okay, no
As
problem.
usual. But I found the original article and not article, email, and it just seemed like it was referencing a class that you then said didn't qualify. So I just want to make sure and Cliff was saying the same thing, he has to take it. So I was like, oh, I'll find out.
Okay, yeah, no, I'll send it right after this.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
Um,
Everybody else updated on that?
Everybody's
I
good?
know, I killed 3 birds with one ethics test.
Thank you, because I did the I
know
did
you
the
did the
training, but it
class.
states that it didn't count, so I
Right.
actually
Yeah.
do need to do the quiz.
I was getting an email that said that I given me a due date for, and then when I went to link it, I had to sign for having like received information, and that I had to do by the end of January, and then it was telling me I had till like April or May on redoing the test itself.
Appreciate this end. Thanks.
Anybody else need it? Ellie, you want me to send it? Are you good?
I do want it.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
I did the class, but they said
Right.
that didn't count.
I know.
All right, and our next meeting date then is March 4th.
Oh, so we're not meeting on the
You're
18th?
gonna be away.
No, I'm gonna be away the following week.
Oh.
I
No,
won't be at planning.
do your homework and write up your drafts and send them to Maureen.
All right. So do we need to take a vote to cancel the 18th?
If you
We-
want to, I don't put, like I said, I
Right.
just adjust to the.
Oh,
on the
right.
site. I don't bother putting it into my town government because you get so many weird cancellations all the time on that. It's so, no one even looks at them anymore, so,
Yeah.
How's
But-
the website? Any more news on that?
I haven't heard back from that gentleman, no.
Okay.
I think everybody is just buried in, budgets and town meeting, so. But our town report went in, so that was another thing, so, we got that in on time, and they were appreciative of that. I don't know anything else going on in town hall, I don't know, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah,
So unless people are nervous, it's March 4th for our next meeting. Everybody has a little homework, so that's fine. And we wish Carolyn a wonderful trip.
Cannot wait.
Mm.
So jealous.
Anybody
I-
else going anywhere?
I'm going to Costa Rica and Panama, but that's the 7th of March.
Oh, okay.
Well,
So
we'll
we-
wish you bon voyage next time. That's good.
Yes,
Nice.
And we'll have to
Co-
figure out who's going away in April. Yeah, good.
right? Well, and Beth like travels all summer, so
Not
not
I
this
have-
year.
I've put my foot down. I am going to be home with my tomatoes. I have literally, I've not eaten one of my own tomatoes the past 5 years.
Oh,
I start them
Oh,
and then
man.
I leave, and some of them survive. Like, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to eat my own tomatoes in my own backyard this summer.
Good
All
for you.
right.
I plan.
Good.
Goals, there we go.
Set the bar low. Sometimes you.
All right, it's 8:31. That's an hour. That's enough.
All right. I make
We're
a motion to
motion.
adjourn.
In a second,
Second.
it's non-debatable.
Woo!
MJ,
Aye.
Beth,
I.
Wayne,
Bye.
Ellie,
Hi.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Tim, I.